A parent is on the phone, important call, work call, the kind where the other person is talking and listening matters. And from somewhere just behind, a small voice starts. Mom, 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 mom. Not loud at first, then louder, then tugging at a sleeve, then standing directly in the parent's line of sight, waving both arms. The call is still going. The voice does not stop. And the parent is now trying to track two completely separate streams of input while privately wondering how a human being this small can generate this much urgency over, in this particular case, the location of a single missing sock. Interruptions are one of the most constant, low-grade frustrations in parenting a school-aged child. They happen during phone calls, during conversations with other adults, during the 2 minutes a parent is trying to read one paragraph of anything. And the instinctive response, stop interrupting, wait your turn, I'm talking, rarely produces lasting change. The child apologizes, pauses for 30 seconds, and does it again 5 minutes later. This video is going to give parents the exact words to say to a child who constantly interrupts, words that actually teach the skill of waiting rather than just suppressing the behavior in the moment without addressing what's underneath it. Before getting to the words, it is worth understanding something that reframes the entire problem. Interrupting is not, in most children, a sign of rudeness or a lack of respect. It is a sign of an underdeveloped skill called impulse control, which lives in the same part of the brain responsible for delaying gratification, regulating emotion, and managing attention, the prefrontal cortex. And here's the part that surprises most parents. That part of the brain is not finished developing until the mid-20s. A 7 or 8-year-old interrupting a conversation is not choosing rudeness over patience. They simply do not yet have a fully built mechanism for holding a thought in their mind while waiting for an appropriate gap to share it. There's something else happening too, something almost touchingly simple. When a thought occurs to a young child, it often feels, to them, urgent and fleeting, as if it will disappear forever if not said immediately. Adults have learned through years of practice that a thought can be held, that it will still be there in 2 minutes. Children have not yet built that confidence, so the interruption is not defiance, it is closer to panic, a small, sincere fear of losing something important. Knowing this does not mean parents should simply tolerate constant interruption forever. It means the goal shifts from punishing the behavior to actively teaching the skill the child is missing. Here is what most parents say, and why it does not build the skill. Stop interrupting me. This names the unwanted behavior, but gives the child no replacement behavior to use instead. It is the equivalent of telling someone not to think about something. The instruction itself does not provide an alternative path. Wait your turn. This is closer but vague. What does waiting actually look like? How does the child know when their turn has arrived? Without a concrete signal, wait your turn becomes another abstract request that a developing brain struggles to execute consistently. And I'm talking to someone else right now. Delivered in frustration, often with a sharp tone, teaches a child that their needs are an annoyance, which can quietly erode their willingness to come to the parent with things that matter later on. So here's what to say instead, and it works in 2 parts. The first part is a tool to give the child before the interrupting moment even happens. At a calm time, not in the middle of a phone call, sit down with the child and say, I've noticed it's hard for you to wait when you want to tell me something. Let's make a deal. When I'm talking to someone else and you need me, put your hand gently on my arm and just wait there. I will put my hand on top of yours so you know I felt it, and I will come to you as soon as I can. This single tool changes everything because it gives the child something concrete to do with the urgency instead of simply suppressing it. The hand on the arm is an action, and children, especially young ones, regulate far more successfully through action than through pure self-restraint. The parent's hand on top of theirs is an acknowledgement loop. It tells the child, I know you're there, I haven't forgotten you, without requiring a single word to be exchanged or the original conversation to be interrupted. Practice this when there's no pressure, during a pretend phone call, during a board game, anywhere low stakes. Practice it enough times that it becomes a known routine rather than a rule introduced in the heat of the moment. Now here's what to say in the actual moment of interruption, once the system has been introduced. If the child interrupts verbally instead of using the hand signal, say calmly, without stopping the other conversation entirely, I see you. Hand on my arm and I'll come to you in 1 minute. Then critically follow through. Come back in 1 minute, every time. The system only works if the child learns that waiting actually leads somewhere, that their need will be addressed, just not instantly. This is the piece most parents skip, and it's the piece that makes or breaks the entire approach. If a child practices the hand-on-arm system and the parent forgets to follow up, or takes 15 minutes instead of 1, the child's brain recalibrates back toward interrupting, because interrupting, in their experience, got a faster result than waiting did. Consistency here is not optional. It is the entire mechanism. There is a phrase worth using once the parent does turn their attention to the child, even briefly, mid-conversation: "Thank you for waiting. What did you need?" Acknowledging the wait out loud every time reinforces that waiting was noticed and mattered. This is what teaches the skill over time, not the absence of interrupting. The experience repeated again and again that waiting works and is recognized. There's also a version of this for slightly older children, around 9 or 10, who are capable of a bit more independent regulation. With them, the conversation can include a clock. "If you need to wait for me, here's what I want you to try. See if you can count slowly to 60 in your head. By the time you're done, I'll usually be ready for you." This gives an older child a self-administered tool, rather than relying entirely on a physical signal, which supports the transition toward more independent self-regulation as they grow. There's one more layer worth addressing: the child who interrupts not out of urgency, but because they have learned over time that interrupting works. If a parent has, in the past, repeatedly stopped what they were doing the moment the child interrupted, even with a sigh, even with visible irritation, the child have learned that interruption is an effective strategy, regardless of how unpleasant the parent's reaction looks on the surface. In this case, changing the pattern requires real consistency from the parent over several weeks, not just better language. The words matter, but they only work alongside a parent who reliably follows through on the new system, rather than occasionally defaulting back to immediate response under pressure. Here's the long view. A child who is taught, through actual practice, not just instruction, that their needs will be met, just not always immediately, develops something valuable that extends far beyond conversational manners. They develop the internal experience that waiting is survivable, that urgency does not have to be acted on instantly, that a need can be held for a minute or 5 minutes without it disappearing or being forgotten. That's one small but real building block of self-regulation, and it serves them in classrooms, in friendships, and eventually in their own adult lives. The goal is not a child who never interrupts. Children are still children, and slip-ups will happen even with the best system in place. The goal is a child who has a tool for the impulse, who trusts that the parent will follow through, and who slowly, gradually builds the muscle of waiting. Say it calmly the next time the interruption comes. "I see you. Hand on my arm, and I'll come to you in 1 minute." And then, this part matters more than anything else said in this entire video: actually come back in 1 minute. If this video helped, please hit the like button. It genuinely helps more parents find this channel. And subscribe for more videos just like this one. Here's today's comment question. What is the most random or memorable thing your child has interrupted you to say? The urgent announcements about socks, bugs, and forgotten dreams are some of the funniest and most relatable parts of parenting. Drop yours in the comments. This thread is going to be a good one.